Good morning. This is Muhammad Suleiman, Assistant Professor of Commerce working at MVS Government Degree College, Autonomous, Mehboob Nagar. Today, let us learn something about consideration. Consideration is an important topic in business laws and it is one of the essential conditions which has to be fulfilled for a contract to become a valid contract. These are the objectives of the lesson. First, we will be seeing some introduction to the concept called consideration. Then we will see what is the definition of consideration, and we will move on to see what are the essentials of a valid consideration. Then we will see the role of a stranger in case of consideration. Then we will see the importance of consideration, and later on at the end we will see the exceptions to this statement called no consideration, no contract. As it is said that consideration is the foundation of every contract. Without consideration, the contract is incomplete. And law enforces only those promises which are made for consideration. When we talk about consideration, let us see what actually the term consideration mean. Consideration is nothing but it is something in return. When I am doing one work, when I am making some promise, or when one person is making some promise, what is that he is getting back, or what is that he is getting against the promise that he has made or she has made. Therefore, consideration is nothing but it is something in return. It is not necessary that consideration shall be paid in money terms only. It is not necessary that the consideration shall be in monetary terms only. It could be in the form of non monetary terms also. Therefore, the law enforces only those promises which are made for consideration, and when one party does something, he should get something in return. This something in return is called consideration, and without consideration, there is no contract. Now, let us see the definition of consideration. There is one famous definition of consideration given by Pollock. According to Pollock, consideration is a price for which the promise of the other is bought and the promise thus given for the value is enforceable. So Pollock says that consideration is a price. Consideration is a price for which the promise of the other is bought. As we were discussing about giving something in return. This something in return is nothing but the price for which the promise of the other is bought. For example, if A promises to sell his bike for rupees 20,000, let us assume. If A is handing over the bike to Mr. B, what is A getting in return? The price which is agreed and fixed as 20,000 rupees is something in return that A is getting, and that something in return, rupees 20,000, is consideration for the promise made by A. Therefore, the promise made by A, as it is getting some value, is enforceable. So this definition is given by Pollock and holds good meaning in terms of consideration and the price for which the promise is taken. Now let us see the definition of consideration according to section 2 of D of Indian Contract Act. Section 2 of D of Indian Contract Act defines consideration as when at the desire of the promiser, the promise or any the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called consideration for the promise. Therefore, it is clear according to section 2 of D of Indian Contract Act that when at the desire of the promiser should request for payment of consideration in one way. The promisee or any other person, the promisee or any other third person also shall do something or abstain from doing something for fulfilling of the promise. Therefore, it is called consideration. So here we should remember that consideration shall not be in money terms always. It can be in other terms also. For example, a promise can be consideration for another promise. And it is something which is of some value in the eyes of law. It may be benefit, it may be monetary reward, it can be transfer of some property, it can be making some promise, or it can be doing some work, or it can be stopping from doing some work. Therefore, it is nothing but something in return. And I repeat, it does not mean payment of money only. It could be any other thing that will support the contract made between the two parties. If there is no something in return, then there is no consideration. When there is no consideration, then there is no contract. Therefore, in order to have a good contract, in order to arrange a good contract, it is essential that consideration is there in that contract. Now, having known the meaning and definition of consideration, let us move on to essentials of a valid consideration. What conditions will make a consideration a valid consideration? And what are those points which will make a consideration as a valid one? There are 6 essential conditions of a valid contract. Now let us see all those 6 one by one. First one is it must move at the desire of the promiser. And second one, it must move from the promisee or any other person. Then third one is it must be past, present or future. Then fourth one is it need not be adequate. Then fifth one, it must be real. Then sixth one, it must be lawful. Now let us discuss all those essential points of a valid consideration one by one. First of all, let us learn first one. It must move at the desire of the promiser. The consideration is nothing but it should move from the at the desire of the promiser, and it should follow any act or any performance that is desired by the promiser. And it is important to remember that the desire of the promiser can be expressed or it can be implied also. For example, Mr. A wanted to sell his house for rupees 10 lakh rupees. Mr. B agreed for that. When Mr. B agreed for that, A may put a request to Mr. B for payment of rupees 10 lakhs. If Mr. B pays rupees 10 lakhs to Mr. A, then the consideration is paid and the contract is a valid contract. Here we have seen that on the request of the promiser, that is Mr. A, Mr. B has paid rupees 10 lakhs for the purchase of the house. If there is no move or there is no desire from the promisor, then it will become a invalid consideration. Therefore, the consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. So, if there is no consideration, something in return, for example, there may be some contracts which are called contracts done in the form of service or activity done in the form of gratuitous service. Therefore, if there is no consideration, then there is no contract there. For example, a promise to subscribe or a promise to pay some subscription to a charitable trust by a person is unenforceable because it does not have any consideration. Because there is no benefit to the promisor, the other party cannot move to the court for recovery or for the collection of the subscription to a charitable trust. At the same time, a person who has promised to pay some donation to some orphan home or some charitable trust, if he does not pay or if he refuses to pay, the charitable trust or orphan home cannot go to the court because the promise made by the person was a gratuitous one and it has got no consideration in return. There is one famous case here which we have to discuss regarding this point that happened between Abdul Aziz and Mausam Ali in the year 1914. In this case, one person promised to pay rupees 500 for reconstruction of a religious building, for reconstruction of a prayer house. And later on, after some time, the promiser did not pay the amount and it was pursued for payment, and later on he refused to pay. The secretary of that particular building filed a suit for recovery of the amount that he has promised. It was held by the court that the promise was not enforceable because the promise gained nothing in return. The promise does not have anything in consideration, or the promiser did not gain anything out of the promise. Therefore, the case was dismissed and it was held that there was no consideration, therefore there is no contract. Hence, the consideration shall move at the desire of the promiser. Then next point we have, that is, it must move from the promisee or any other person. There can be a third person also who may receive the consideration. In this case, what happens is, as long as the consideration for a payment as requested or desired by the promisor is done, or the stipulation or conditions of the considerations are fulfilled, the contract is a valid contract. When the stipulation or conditions of the valid considerations are not followed, then it is not a valid contract. Here it is good to note that it is immaterial who has given it, or it is immaterial to whom the consideration has been paid, but it is essential that the consideration is paid, and consideration can move from promisee or any other person. Any other person could be a third person. For example, if A and B enter into a contract and A requests Mr. B to pay consideration to Mr. C. Here Mr. C is a third person and the contract is happening between A and B. C can sue for payment of consideration because A desired to pay the consideration to Mr. C and B should do it. We can take another example here. If X, Y and Z enter into an agreement under which Mr. X pays rupees 5 lakhs to Y and Y agreed to build a house for Mr. Z, then Z is a party to the contract. Though he is a stranger to consideration, but he can enforce the contract as the promiser desired to construct the house for Mr. Z. There is one famous case here in this point, we have to know it, that happened between Chinnaya and Ramaya in the year 1882. In this case, an old lady made a gift of her property to her daughter with a direction to pay some amount to the maternal uncle by way of some payment like annuity, or by way of some payment like every month. On the same day, the daughter executed a writing in favor of the brother agreeing to pay the amount, and in the future course of action the daughter did not pay the amount. However, the non-receipt of the amount, the uncle filed a suit to recover the amount, and it was held that there was sufficient consideration for the uncle to recover the money from the daughter. Here it is important to note that the desire of the promisor was to pay annuity charges to his maternal uncle, and the uncle, though being a stranger to the contract, can claim the consideration because he has become a party in the contract signed by both parties. Therefore, it must move from the promisee or any other person. The next essential point for valid consideration is it must be past, present, or future. This is an important point. The consideration could be something which has been done, or which has been given, or which has been made in the past, or the consideration could be something which is being given now, right now, or some activity or some promise which is made right now at the time of entering into the contract, or it could be something which is promised to be given in the future, or which is promised to be given in the future course of action. Therefore, the consideration can be past, consideration can be in the present, and consideration can be in the coming future. Let us take what is past consideration. When the consideration for a present promise was given before entering into the contract or making the promise, it is called past consideration. A past consideration, if given at the request of the promiser, will support a subsequent promise. For example, Mr. X is in need of money. He may request Mr. Y for payment of some amount, let us say 5 lakh rupees. If Mr. Y at the request of Mr. X pays 5 lakh rupees and Mr. X promises to sell his house to Mr. Y, then on a later date, maybe after 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, Mr. X and Y can enter into a contract for the sale of house. Here it should be noted that the amount consideration rupees 5 lakhs was paid in the past date, that is 6 months ago, and the contract is being entered now, that is 6 months later. Therefore, the consideration is paid in the past, and the consideration paid in the past equally holds good for making a valid contract. And it should be noted that a past consideration is as good as the present consideration or future consideration. Therefore, the consideration can be in the past also. Now, the consideration can be in the present also. What do you mean by present consideration? When the consideration for a promise is given simultaneously along with the promise, then it is called present consideration. For example, Mr. X wants to sell his house for rupees 5 lakhs. Mr. Y is ready to buy that house on the date of transaction itself, on the date of contract itself. When Mr. Y gives rupees 5 lakhs to Mr. X, and both of them sign a contract for sale of a house, then it is called present consideration. That is, consideration which is given simultaneously along with the promise. And present consideration consists in doing or abstaining from doing something, and this something in return is called present consideration. Here, present consideration may be in two parts also. Some amount can be paid now, and some amount can be promised, or some amount can be paid in the future also. For example, a person who promised to buy a house may pay 50% amount right now and 50% amount after 1 month. In this case, the future consideration is nothing but the executory consideration, which is a promise to do or give something in return in future for the promise made now or for the promise made at certain date. It is also called a promise for the promise. Therefore, consideration can be given or can be paid or can be completed at a future date also. And the next essential point which shall be fulfilled for a valid consideration is it need not be adequate. This is an important point which was not discussed earlier. It need not be adequate means what? In the latest provisions given, sometimes there may be a contract between two parties which in which they agree to exchange something of good value with a lesser value. For example, a house of rupees 10 lakhs can be exchanged for rupees 1 lakhs at the will of the promiser. Then, in such a case, there shall not be any objection or there shall not be any question as to the consideration which is not adequate or which is not adequate according to the present time. If both parties to the contract agree to exchange the value or to take the consideration at one particular time or at one particular amount, then in such a case the adequacy is decided by the parties at the time of making agreement, and there is no objection or there is no clause barring such agreements unless there is a evidence that there is some fraud, unless there is some evidence that there is some coercion or there is some misrepresentation or there is some pressure where the consent is not free and the consent is obtained either through unlawful means or through coercion, then we talk about adequate consideration. When the parties to the contract will decide freely on their own to exchange the consideration at a lesser value, then in such a case the consideration agreed by both parties is taken as good consideration, and the consideration need not be adequate also. Even if a person gets what he contracted, the court will not inquire whether it was equivalent to the promise made or not. Let us go to the same example. When Mr. A agrees to sell his house, which worth value rupees 20 lakhs to be for just rupees 20,000 due to some friendship, due to some love and affection on him, or due to some any other reason. As a consent to the agreement is given freely, as a consent to the agreement is given without any fraud or coercion, it is a valid contract in the eyes of law, though there is inadequacy of the consideration. So it is clear that a house worth rupees 20 lakhs is being sold for just rupees 20,000, which is very less. But when the parties to the contract are okay, when the parties to the contract are in understanding, and there is no, therefore, adequacy of consideration is looked only in such cases where the possibility of making fraud, or possibility of coercing, or possibility of taking consent without having free mind, or without giving liberty or freedom of thinking to the promiser. In such cases only it can be suspected that the consideration is not adequate and the amount paid is not adequate. Therefore, consideration when agreed by both parties need not be adequate also. Now let us move on to one more point. Consideration must be real. This is an important point. This point says that the consideration shall be real and it shall not be illusory. When one person promises to pay rupees 10,000 as consideration, rupees 10,000 shall be given and there shall not be any payment which is illusory. Thus, a promise to do that which a person is already bound to does not amount to consideration. For example, a person is employed with some master and he is getting a salary of 10,000 rupees. When the salary is paid on first, the master cannot ask him to do something for raking 10,000 rupees, because paying salary to his servant for the service taken every month, rupees 10,000, is the bound duty of the master, and the master cannot ask his servant to do something in return for taking rupees 10,000. Here we can take one example here. As the master is paying rupees 10,000 salary, he may ask his servant to bring some commodity or to bring some article like a washing machine. He may say that as I have paid you rupees 10,000, tomorrow you bring washing machine with this 10,000. It is not valid, because the master is already bound to pay salaries to his servant, that is rupees 10,000 per month, and the the payment of rupees 10,000 shall not become a consideration for doing one more activity or one more agreement. Therefore, the consideration must be real and it shall not be anything which is the person already bound to do so. And at sometimes the consideration shall also be competent. If it is impossible to do something which is written in consideration, then consideration is vague and consideration is legally impossible and the contract cannot be enforced. For example, a, a person may enter into a contract with another person who will ask him to swim across an ocean. Swimming across an ocean is not possible for a normal person. Therefore, the consideration which is physically impossible, and which is vague, there we talk that consideration is not real. When the consideration is not real, it cannot be enforced. Therefore, in such cases, it should be observed that the consideration agreed upon must be real but not a illusory one. Then one more important point here is consideration must be lawful. it shall not be something which is already void, or it shall not be something which is already prohibited by something, and it shall not be anything which is forbidden by law. For example, two persons may enter into a contract for the purchase of something which is forbidden by law. When something is forbidden by law, it is understood that it is not possible to exchange that product, and it is not possible to purchase that product, and it is not possible to supply that product. But though they enter into a contract, though knowing that it is unlawful or illegal on their part, then that consideration is treated as unlawful. Therefore, the consideration which is agreed must be lawful, and the consideration of an agreement is lawful unless it is forbidden by law, that is prohibited by law, or it is of such nature that if permitted it would defeat the provisions of any other law. The consideration that is agreed upon shall not defeat the provisions of any other law. For example, two persons entering into a contract for avoiding the tax or for evading the tax, then in this case the provisions relating to taxation or the provisions relating to tax laws are defeated. In such a case, the consideration is not lawful, the consideration is unlawful. Then the consideration, if it is a fraudulent one, there is some angle of fraud in handing over that consideration, then the consideration is not treated as lawful consideration. Or sometimes when a consideration involves or it makes some injury to the person or property of another, then also the consideration is treated as unlawful. A and B may enter into a contract to damage the property of C. Then here in this case, of course, A and B will not have any harm by completing this contract, but the property of C is damaged. Then in such a case, consideration received for damaging some another person's property is treated as unlawful. Then at some times it is decided by the court of law that it is immoral or opposed to public policy in transacting something, then also the consideration is treated as unlawful, and it is forbidden by law, which shall not be considered by the parties making the contract. Therefore, it is important to note that the persons making the contract shall observe whether the consideration that has been agreed upon is lawful or not. Now, let us move on to one more point, that is stranger to consideration. What is the position of a stranger to consideration, or the person who is not actually entering into a contract, that is between two parties, between two persons? What is the position of a stranger? Now let us see. According to the Indian Contract Act 1872, consideration for a contract may move from the promisee to any other person, that is a stranger, or to the consideration can also enforce the contract, and this was established in the case that is Chinnaya versus Ramaya. This case is already discussed in the previous section. Chinnaya versus Ramaya, wherein an old lady who gifted her property to her daughter asked to pay some annuity charges to maternal uncle. The daughter executed the same deed in favor of payment of some annuity charges, and she did not do at a later date. And the matter was taken to the court, and though the uncle, being a stranger to the contract, was held eligible to claim the consideration because it was at the desire of the promiser. The promiser, the old lady who had actually transferred property in her daughter's name, agreed to or requested to pay the consideration in the form of some annuity charges to her maternal uncle. Therefore, a stranger to the consideration is also eligible to claim the consideration, maybe either in the form of a monetary amount or in the form of any other form, either for doing something or not doing something. But the position of stranger is also held eligible in the form of a party to the consideration, and the Indian Contract Act 1872 permits this. Therefore, it is important to note that consideration is nothing but it is a foundation of every contract, and the law insists only on those contracts which consist consideration, and if the promise is to be enforced for creating the legal obligations between the parties, there must be consideration. And a promise without consideration is null and void, and without consideration the promise cannot be enforced. Therefore, consideration is the very lifeblood of every contract, except in some cases, except in some exceptions, there shall be no contract if there is no consideration. In the absence of consideration, a promise of or undertaking is purely gratuitous. Therefore, the consideration is most important in a contract. Now, let us move on to one more point, that is called exceptions to this rule, that is no consideration and no contract. There are some exceptions to this point, where there are some contracts which are equally valid without consideration. Every agreement to be enforceable, I repeat, every agreement to be enforceable at law must be supported by a valid consideration. But there are some exemptions to it. There are some exemptions to it which make the contract a valid contract even though there is no consideration there. Likewise, there are some exceptions here. We are able to see what are those exceptions. One is in case of natural love and affection, and another one in case of compensation for services already rendered. Then third one is time barred debt. Then fourth one is completed gifts. Then fifth one, agency. Then guarantee and remission. Let us see quickly one by one what are these exceptions given under the law. The first is the contracts which are made out of natural love and affection. In agreement that is made without consideration will be valid if it is in writing and registered on account of some natural love and affection between the parties standing in near relation to each other. For example, there can be contract between two brothers, there can be a contract between two sisters, or there can be a contract between a family members, wherein on account of the natural love and affection because of their near relations, an agreement can be made without consideration, and the agreement without consideration will be valid provided that it shall satisfy some conditions. Number one, it shall be expressed in writing. All the terms of the agreement shall be put in writing, and that is in ink signed form. Then it must be registered under the law which is in force at the time. If it is written today, it shall be registered today under the law which is in force now. Or if it is registered 1 year later, or if it was registered 1 year ago, it should have been registered according to the law that was on force on that day, or that will be on force on that particular day. And it is made on account of natural love and affection and no other reason. It shall be made only on account of natural love and affection, and there shall not be any other angle or reason. And it shall be observed that it is between the parties who are in near relation to each other, who are in very close relation to each other, and then only the natural love and affection angle can be accepted. When all these essential conditions are fulfilled, then the agreement is enforceable. If any one of these conditions is lapsed, the agreement is not enforceable. Therefore, the first exception for no consideration, no contract is the contracts arising out of the natural love and affection. Then one more exception that is permitted is compensation for the services already rendered. If an agreement between two parties which arises already due to some work which has been done voluntarily in the past by one person, then the agreement is valid between these two persons because the services are rendered already in the past. And there are some essential points that must exist between two parties for satisfying this condition. Number one, the act must have been done voluntarily. At the time of doing some act or work, there shall not be any intention of making a contract in the future. And the promiser, for the promiser, it should become the legal obligation of the promiser if it is accepted or if it is agreed. And the promiser must be in existence at the time when the act was done. For example, if Mr. X does some service to Mr. Y, Mr. Y shall be in existence, or Mr. Y shall have taken some service from Mr. X that has happened in the past. And now both of them may agree to do an agreement or to sign an agreement for the services already rendered between them. Therefore, in this case also, it is important to satisfy all these conditions before making into a contract. Then we have one more exception, and that is time barred debt. A promise to pay a time barred debt is also enforceable, but the promise must be in a writing mode and signed by the promiser or his authorized agent or person on his behalf. And the promise may be to pay the whole or part of the amount also. An oral promise or just words of mouth to pay a time bar debt is not enforceable because it is already time barred. For example, a person is owing some 2 lakhs rupees, and after a long time when he comes voluntarily and agrees to pay 50,000 for it, then when the agreement is in written for payment of 50,000 rupees against the time bar debt of rupees 2 lakhs, then only it is enforceable. Otherwise it is not enforceable because long ago the debt has become overdue. Therefore, a time bar debt is also an exception for making a contract without consideration. Then we have one more exception, that is completed gifts. Completed gifts are those which are already given by the persons in the past, and the donor and donee who actually exchange the gifts in this agreement or in this contract, that is completed gifts. Thus, if a person gives certain property to another according to the provisions of existing law on that date and the Transfer of Property Act, he cannot subsequently demand the property back on the grounds or on the simple ground that there was no consideration. The person who is giving gift on the date of giving gift itself should decide whether he will he is ready to give the gift or not. After the completion of the process, after the completion of handing over of the property, he cannot go back again and say that I want the repossession of the property given or repossession of the gift given because there is no consideration there. Therefore, the transactions which are in the form of handing over of gifts are equally valid without consideration because it is a gift transaction. Therefore, the person making or the donor giving the gift shall think once again before giving the gift. Then one more exception is there, that is called agency. Agency is a relation between the agent and principal. Though there is no consideration between them, the agency can be created and enforced. Then one more exception is there, that is called guarantee. A contract of guarantee is made without consideration. The person who is giving guarantee shall think before giving the guarantee, and even though there is no consideration in this contract, the guarantee contract is enforceable. Then there is one more point called exception called remission. No consideration is required for an agreement to receive less than what is due for. Therefore, this is called remission under law and is equally acceptable or enforceable according to the provisions. Therefore, these are the exceptions which permit no consideration and no contract, though there is no consideration in them. Thank you.